Welcome everyone. Today's tutorial was inspired by the beautiful red, gold, and green Gunjarat wedding sarees. I just think they're gorgeous, and I wanted to do a mandala inspired by them. So I started out with a 12 by 12 canvas and painted it with a matte black paint, and I'm using this stencil for today's tutorial. This is a wonderful tool because you don't have to worry about spacing and symmetry because all your lines are right there, and you really only have to think about your color choices. So I'm using a General's charcoal white pencil. You can get these on Amazon to fill in the lines, and I'm only doing the ones I think I will need. So that is going to be the basis for the design. These are dotting tools that I bought from Ginger at Traveling Kindness Rocks. And I'm going to just let you watch as I'm doing this. I'm really making this up as I go. So you'll just kind of have to see the process that I go through. I'm mixing a couple colors here. I wanted to get 3 different values of sort of yellow to green. I've got my dots around my center dot, and now I'm doing my second shade with my manicure stylus. I'm going to start with the smallest tool from the set and get the next row on there in a little bit darker shade of a yellow-green. I'm going to add a little bit more green to that as I work my way out. And then a little bit of this golden fluid. This is a little bit thinner paint, and I wanted a little bit more vibrant color for this outside ring here. And you can see how I'm doing this. I'm walking the dots in 2 different directions to do these little spirals. I do halfway up on either side, and then I go back from the center and walk my way out. One side up, the other side up, and I start in the center and walk that back down. Now I'm adding another shade of green, dark emerald green to that, using the 3rd tool in the set. Getting that first dot on there, and I'll be walking those down. Just following the lines. It's very easy. Now I'm going to cover those up with a damp paper towel and just dry that with a blow dryer for a little bit. And now I'm to one of my favorite paints, the Golden Fluid Iridescent Gold. The tone on this paint is just incredibly beautiful. It's easy to work with. It's opaque, you don't see through it, and it dries exactly the color that you see. It's very shimmery, just a wonderful paint. Finally getting up to the small dots with my manicure stylus. And I'm going to spin those around as I get into the tight spiral up there. And I'm going to walk those all the way down to a very fine point on the inside of the spiral. And then once I take off the guidelines with a damp Q-tip, all you will see is the gold paint. I thought this was really fun. It was fun to follow these guidelines. Didn't have to think about it, just added the color and turned out very pretty. Now I'm on the 4th tool on the set. I'm going to put some gold dots in the center there by the green. Then some big green dots to finish out the color there. And I'm tapping it down to make sure that those don't stand up too tall, and then I'm swirling them to flatten them further. Now it's time to start adding some red. Back to the fourth tool in the set. And I decided to walk those out till they reached the gold spirals. I'm just doing it kind of one dot at a time because they were a little bit bigger. Finally getting to the smallest points there. And then I thought I'd go back and add a little bit more of the yellow in that green ring, so there wasn't so much empty space there. It's part of designing. You just add one element at a time. You stand back and look at it and decide if you need to fill up the space or if you're going to leave the black background. I thought I would continue with the green and add a big dot in there in the largest petals with the gold. And then I knew I was going to be coming back to the red on the outside ring. And this is a little bit brighter red, the Americana Tuscan Red. And then I started to follow these swirly lines, and I thought it would be really cool if I just did it bright red on one half of it and then switched to more of an orange red on the other half of it to give it kind of a 3D look. So I'm just doing half of each of these swirls in the Tuscan Red. And then I mixed a little bit of that school bus yellow in with it, and then went back and did the other half in kind of this dark orange. So it looks like it's swirling around behind itself. Okay, that's done. Now I'm on the fifth tool of the set. I'm putting in some gold. I'm going to be walking gold dots around those large red dots, starting with my largest size, and then I'll be one by one using smaller tools until I get down to the smallest one. I'll just be walking those one dot at a time. Wipe it off on my damp paper towel. Get to the smaller tool. Couple dots at a time until I get down to the very smallest dots. Now I added a little bit of white to my Tuscan Red and went over in kind of almost a pink tone on those red dots because I didn't think that they had enough vibrance. I'm going back and doing some top dots. I added a little bit of white to some of the green. I thought I'd fill in a little bit more space. It seemed a little bit too open. So I'm just adding a few light green dots. And then adding some brighter top dots on the row that had dried too dark. And then I added the yellow on top of that dark pink. And some red top dots on the gold. And then I thought I need something on the corners. So I let this dry completely. I've got a little piece of wax paper to make sure I don't, this stencil doesn't stick to it. And I thought I would put this shape in each corner. I'm just kind of lining it up. I'm feeling it with my finger and looking underneath to make sure I get it lined up right. And then I'm going to trace that and do that in each corner. Okay, that's done on all four corners. And I'm going to go back to my bright red and do just like I did before with the gold. Using smaller and smaller tools to walk that out, just one dot at a time. And then I thought I would walk a line toward that on either side, just to give me more of a definite shape for the corner. So you let this dry completely and then spend some time removing your guidelines with a wet Q-tip. You don't have to press very hard. You just have to be careful and really take a look at it. Then I sprayed it with a Camar varnish by Krylon and let that dry, and then started adding some Swarovski crystals using the Tacky glue. I used emerald green and crimson and gold. And it just looks so beautiful. It's hard to tell in a video, but in person these are amazing, and the sparkle is beautiful in low light. I thought this really looked like something that would be a wedding gift for a traditional Indian wedding. And I also did it in a blue and purple, so you can see what that looks like. So go ahead and buy a stencil and try this on a canvas. You'll find that it's very easy and it will be a lot of fun.